I'm out of town with my rounds. You know what I'm saying? You know, but at the same time though, I just
Amen. Hey, we here with another episode of On the Porch.
All right, guys. So look, my name is Joseph Hines, and essentially I help high performers grow their style and their network. When people look at you, what do you want them to see? What do you want to communicate to them? There are going to be certain modes and moments in your life where you're going to have to go all in on one area. But you have to be aware enough to where, hey, all right, I'm becoming Hellboy now. I done worked out my right arm a little too much, right? It's time to put the weight down there. Like, we got it, big bro. The beautiful thing about, I think, anything service related is if you do a good job and you take care of your clients, your business should naturally grow. Really, it's just a referral model, right? Mm. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and so forth and so on. So a lot of times what I've realized with men is most men feel like they have to segment their relationships. So what I mean by that is for a lot of guys, they might have a friend where it's like, hey, this is my friend where I go out to the club with. This is my friend that I just work out with. This is my friend that I can talk business with. But a lot of times they aren't able to integrate those friends. And the standard is for the guy who's looking for an integrated circle.
welcome back to a whole nother episode of On the Porch, guys. We thank you for tuning in once again, guys. You already know what's going on. We always coming with some heat. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And guess what? If you're on YouTube, go over to other platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever that is. Leave us 5 stars, say something nice, so we continue moving up those charts and getting this out to other people that need to hear this. BJ.
Amen. Hey, we here with another episode of On the Porch. Y'all already know y'all can find me at _BJ Real. And if I don't know if y'all been tuning in to the last episodes, man, but they've been going pretty crazy. I can't lie.
If you come on here, you're going viral. I'll tell you.
Like I'm saying, bro, we're going guest for guest for guest. Like we're going bigger and bigger every time. We have another one of those guests on the podcast doing some great things out here. Gonna shed some light, teach y'all a lot of game. Mike, go ahead and introduce who we got on the podcast today and let them know what's going on.
I don't know who he is, guys. He's mysterious, guys. Mr. Mysterious himself, guys. We got Jay Hines, Joseph Hines, guys. Man, look, he is doing great things. Probably the most driftiest person I've ever met in my life. Okay. I don't know. I don't know where he gets it from.
I feel underdressed right now.
I'm like, man, come on, man. I should have put on a suit or something today. You know what I mean? He come in here, but you know, he does it every time. And I've been seeing it. And we had to have him on because I'm just like, who is he? Who is this guy, right? So I'm going to let him introduce himself for the rest of the time. Let him know who you are.
All right, guys. So look, my name is Joseph Hines, and essentially I help high performers grow their style and their network. So on the style side, I have a company called Affluent where I help guys show up and basically better communicate who they are in the spaces that they operate in. And on the network side, I have a private men's group called The Standard, which I help high performing guys, connect with each other, build with each other, and develop relationships.
Man. So wait. You kind of like a stylist. Sort of. Like, break it down for me because I don't know what you do.
Yeah, man. So on the clothing side, I wouldn't say I'm a stylist, only because for me, like, I'm at the point now in my career where, like, I'm not going to the store and, like, about to put something together for you. Like, if you're working with me, what I'm doing is I'm curating a storyboard for you and I'm making like the clothes for you. So, at this point, with a lot of my clients, what I typically tend to do is I create seasonal collections for them. I work with a lot of high performers, right? C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, right? A lot of athletes. So at this point, when you're coming to me, it's not even necessarily just getting 1 or 2 pieces. No, we're creating a story for you. We're creating a capsule collection that makes sense for you and that really better communicates who you are through the clothing. Wow. Right. So that's kind of what I do, I would say, on the style. And I'm not necessarily a stylist, but I'm more of a curator, and what I call a linguistis. Right. But I just do it with clothing.
Okay.
So how did you even get started in that? Because that doesn't sound like a typical field you just hop in or know. Like, was it somebody you knew that was doing it, or like where did that interest get sparked at?
Yeah, no, I love telling this story. I was the last guy that was going to be in clothing. In fact, I hated dressing up.
Wow.
Like with with a passion. I was the last one who was gonna do it, especially going to like a private school. You're forced to wear freaking khakis, polos, no drip, nothing but Sperry's in the closet.
Sperry's.
Like, oh man, I used to hate it.
No Jordans,
Like
Sperry's
hate
every
it,
year.
right? And then it would be annoying because when I'm going, with my cousins or my friends to their football games or to the parties, I'm the guy who doesn't have the drip, and they got, yeah, exactly. And I'm having to wear like my brother's stuff, right? And he had like the whole Sean John pack 4X, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it really was a desire for me to just be able to wear what I want versus feeling like I was forced,
Right.
to wear to dress up. But really what happened for me is, it was a transition of me going to college, so I was coming from a basketball standpoint. I thought I was going to be the next Kobe Bryant, if you ask anybody. But yeah. But really what happened is, my junior year going into my senior year, I broke my arm twice in the same year. Both times were double fractures. Second time I broke it, man, I remember my bone came out of my arm. My teammates are running out the gym screaming, and I remember literally like walking to the nurse's office by myself. And it was the first time in my life where I contemplated the ball stop bouncing, right? So fast forward, I end up getting surgery this time on my left arm. When I wake up, I have no feeling at all on my left hand. Doctor tells me I have nerve damage. And if you've ever experienced nerve damage, they can't tell you when it's going to come back.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing my whole senior season with one hand. Didn't want to tell the coaches because I didn't want him to get nervous.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of these potential D1 looks started looking like D2, D3, NIA. And at that point, I was just like, man, I don't even know if I want to play basketball anymore. Yeah. So I ended up going to take a visit to Georgia Southern University, and a guy by the name of Adam Hazlip, he came up to me and he said, hey, man, look, we're having a program called Pathways to Success. It's for incoming African-American males. We're only selecting, 100. No, it wasn't even 100. It was like 50 from this class. Yeah. Would you be interested in applying? So I said, man, at first, and it was weird because at first I was going to say no. But I had all this extra energy. I didn't know where to place it. So I said, you know what, forget it. I'll apply. So I ended up applying. About a month later, I get accepted. And when I get accepted, they essentially had us do this onboarding a week before school started. And when we got there, they connected with mentors. And our mentors at the time were guys who were getting their doctoral degree, guys who were getting their master's degree, guys who had been on campus. They were student government, presidents, homecoming kings, had their own student orgs. And it was the first time I saw guys that were young that looked like me that were like choosing to dress up. Like it wasn't mandatory. They were like actually choosing to do it. Yeah. And the pivotal moment that really changed my life and really got me into menswear is when we were in our dining commons called Landrum. And about, 6 or 7 of them all walked in at one time, and it was like time stop. Right? Like the lunch lady stopped serving chicken, the girls stopped talking at the table. And I became fascinated about how the room shifted just based on what they were wearing.
Wow.
And that's really what started, my interest in menswear. That was freshman year, and I'm over a decade in the space now.
Man, it's a lot to unpack in that, right?
Yeah.
So first off, you obviously were playing sports extremely hard, which we all play sports. We all have sports background.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that watch them probably did or probably are still. They probably are still playing sports. So with the fact that you had to contemplate, and obviously you came to the decision that you weren't going to play anymore, what message do you have for those athletes that are out there that's just putting their all into to that sport like you were doing? Like you say, all I see myself doing was playing basketball, but obviously you're not doing it now. Like, what is that message?
Yeah, so I think it's a multi-layer one, right? The first thing obviously is that focus is key with anything, and if you have a passion about something, you want to be able to aggressively pursue it with one mind. The other side of that, though, is what I would say is, as a man, you should always be well-rounded. And sometimes there's auxiliary interest that still can boost the main interest.
Right.
So there is a level of, as an athlete, when you become so focused on just doing your sport, you don't realize who you are outside of that sport, because that becomes your identity. And when you look at the lifespan of an athlete, realistically, it's generally only about 30% of your life. If you really think about it. So for most people, although, sports can seem like everything in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing in relation to who you are as a man and your actual interest.
Wow.
So what I tell guys is figure out what your passion and your gift is. And once you do that, it frees you up to do it with multiple vehicles. So the example I use is like, Michael Jordan, right?
Right.
Michael Jordan's gift was not basketball, because if he was born in 1000 BC, he's not hooping, right?
That's true.
Michael Jordan's gift is his competitive nature. Basketball just helped him house it.
Wow.
So that's why once he stopped playing basketball, he channeled that into business. So what I tell people is, again, try to really strip out what your gift is. And then once you do that, now you become disconnected to the vehicle and it opens so many more options. So like for me, what I found out is, my gift was communication. And there's multiple vehicles that can house that gift. Clothing is one, right? I communicate through clothing, right? Even with the community, the standard, right? That's a form of communication. I public speak, that's another form of communication. Writing, there's multiple forms of communication. And now once I understood that, I was able to look at, okay, what are the best vehicles that can help me deploy that gift?
Right. And that makes so much sense, because you just blow my mind with that, because you really never think about, they think their gift is the sport.
Yeah.
They think it's something or whatever that is. It doesn't have to be a sport.
Yeah.
But really, that's just a vehicle, like you said, that's just you're using your gift to be able to make that vehicle drive pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
And that right there really just dawned on me. Really, I never thought about it like that, because obviously we're all good at different things, but I'm able to do whatever I am doing at a high level, because even if it was sports.
Yeah.
So.
And now you say you went to college. Now, did you ever graduate? Did you get your degree?
Yeah, no, I did.
How far did you go?
Yeah. So I was able to graduate, man. I got my degree in marketing with an emphasis in sales and sales management. And, on the minor side, I did finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so when was that point where you turned into like an entrepreneur? Like you said, you went to college. So were you always like an entrepreneur at heart? Or did you were you going to jump out there?
So yes and no, right? So... my entrepreneurship journey really started with selling, right? Like I was the kid who, when, my neighbors would have barbecues, I would go over the barbecue and charge them to do the tires. Right. So I'm like, hey, I was 15, for trucks, $10 for sedans. So that's where it started.
Yeah.
And then it progressed, of course, selling snacks at the school. And then that was always hard because, the teachers never want you selling the snacks.
Yeah.
They always try to shut down the business.
And they made a rule about it. Like, you can't
and then they made a rule about it. Why are you stopping my entrepreneurial drive?
Damn.
Just because I see the big Texases is $150 and I'm selling for $1. You know what I mean? So, and then, man, honestly, for me, when I got to college, it wasn't like I had, these grand aspirations to become, an entrepreneur. I found a new love for clothing. And that was big for me because there was a period of time where I felt lost and I felt very confused. And I had a lot of extra energy. I didn't know where to place it because I stopped playing basketball and then I found clothing. So the beginning of that for me was just like exploring that. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it felt like. And I started, really, working in the clothing space. I was working for a luxury retailer and, I became the top salesman in the world, or one of the top salesmen in the world there. So millions of dollars in clothing. And, I just got to a place in that environment, in that job where I loved what I did, but I kind of, reached the ceiling. And I kind of maxed out my earning potential. And there were some things that happened in that environment that kind of pushed me, into entrepreneurship. But it wasn't something like where like originally, I was running towards it, but I kind of got pushed into it, and that's kind of where I'm at today.
Okay.
How important is that push? Because most people don't do anything until they have to. Not from a want. Most people usually don't do anything. It's like a survival nature. It's just like you got to have that push.
Like back against the wall. Like, okay, now I got to jump out there and do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it was good, but like even for me, right? So my kind of story was. This is the first time I really told it like this, but essentially, I was working at this luxury retailer, and I was starting my business at the same time. And I'll never forget, we had basically like our soft launch for the business, and that it was in like 1 or 2 days we did like 20,000 in sales. And in that moment, I was like, holy crap, like this thing is serious. Yeah. So literally, like imagine, grand openings, soft launch is Saturday. Right. Do that Saturday, 20,000. Literally, Sunday night, we get an email from the manufacturer saying, hey, it's come to our attention that you're working with, one of our clients. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel all your orders. And on top of that, we're going to send it to them.
What?
So I'm looking at my email like, oh heck no, right? I'm like,
What do you mean?
well, that and then there's so many other messed up things about it, right? Because our rep at the time, he already knew what the deal was, and then also it's a level of like, what do they got to do with us?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
like that ain't got nothing to do with us,
Yeah.
right? But obviously, you know, when you're a smaller player, and you know, there's a top 2 or 3 client on the line, you know, obviously, you know, they're gonna chomp you out. So, you know, I remember, man, like 2-3 weeks going by, just wondering like what's gonna happen. Like I'm going to work, no one's saying anything. But I'm going to work like, well, I know somebody knows. Somebody done got somebody ratted the situation out.
Right.
So I'll never forget, you know, our regional manager, he comes down. First day, doesn't say anything, right? Comes down on a Thursday. Friday comes, doesn't say anything. So I'm like, I know this dude just didn't randomly come down. I'm like, what's up? So Saturday comes. He's like, hey, man, you know, let's go upstairs. You know, let's have a talk. So it's like him, me, and you know, my manager, my store manager. And he was like, hey, man, look, you know, I just want to be honest. This isn't a firing conversation, you know, but, you know, what made you be willing to take the risk? You know, we're aware of what you've been doing. What made you be willing to take the risk? And I said, you know, with all due respect, I'd rather have the pain of trying and failing than the regret of not having tried at all. And respectfully, you know, I have my degree. I have a lot of clients in a lot of different spaces. And even if I were to get fired, I know that I could do something else and get paid a lot more than what I'm getting paid now. And the moment for me too, again, and this is kind of even having to go a little bit farther back, what really did it is we were up for raises. And at the time I was doing like 20% of the store volume. And I remember when I went to go, you know, do my review on my raise, you know, my store manager was like, yeah, we're going to give you $1. And I remember feeling so disrespected because I'm like, bro, I know what other people in other markets are making, and I know they aren't selling nearly as much as I am. I know how much I'm selling. So for you to give me that was kind of slap in the face. Now, obviously, you know, if ever you negotiate, never take the first thing they give you. You know, I renegotiated and was able to get a higher pay grade. But, you know, for me, it was the principle. Now, granted, like I did commissions and all that, but it was the principle of that for me.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you know, we having that conversation, and it was funny because it ended with him saying, okay, well, look, write down everything you need for it to make sense and give it to us. Right. So, you know,
kind of saw your value at that point.
Yeah, but at that moment it's too late because in my mind, I'm like, yo, I know how much I just made this weekend and how much I was going to have to sell. So I'm like, so, you know, I ended up giving them a few things, right? Like number one, I was like, you know, let's do a capsule collection,
right?
You know, just like, you know, Yeezy has with Adidas. I was like, let's get we need a higher pay and then a higher percentage.
Right.
They said no to the first thing. They said yes to the other two. So I ended up getting a higher pay, and then I ended up getting a higher percentage, which, you know, funny enough, ended up changing the structure for all $1 million sellers. Wow. So all of us, so literally overnight, my income doubled.
Wow.
Yeah, they doubled my commission percentage.
Wow.
So, and really, it was a little bit over double because they also hired my pay. But at that point, it still was like I had tasted blood.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
You know, ended up finding another manufacturer. Still was doing my own thing. Then COVID came. Oh. Right. Now, when COVID came, you know, I remember, man, like, first of all, they shut down the stores. And then when they opened up the stores, you know, I was one of the first people that they brought back. But they brought me back at a lower pay and a lesser percentage. And at that point, I'm like, shoot, I could get paid more for being at the crib than what I'm doing now. So, you know, at that point, I was just like, you know what?
They were giving that money.
Exactly. So, you know, I quit and resigned in the middle of COVID, you know, and for a lot of people, it would have been scary, right? Because I had a guaranteed 6-figure job. You know, my clients were set. They were the type to where they only was going to work with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I did it like in the middle of a pandemic, but you know, it was just one of those moments where I felt like it made sense. And, you know, the rest is kind of history.
So now you pretty much brought us up to where you started and you actually went in full time on your business.
Yeah.
So what did that look like you getting started? Obviously, you had to find a manufacturer, and you're saying the manufacturer made the clothes, but do you design the clothes, or how does it look for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, it's a couple different layers. So I do the design components for the clothes, but obviously you have to have a manufacturer. You have to have good relationships with trusted mills, which will send you the fabrics.
Right.
But yeah, it's a combination of designing the clothes, curating the proper fit for the client, because you have to fit the client, and also knowing which fabrics work best for the client and curating fabrics that make sense for what the client's actually looking to do. Because certain fabrics may not agree with what the client's actually even looking to do and the job that they're in. So having like an understanding of that, you know, what type of fabrics communicate different things, and then even transitioning now to where like I've designed my own like luxury leisure wear collection. Like for instance, this polo is like one of the designs that I've made for our leisure wear collection. Yeah, appreciate it. So, you know, it's been fun, man. But yeah, a lot of things go into it. But the number one thing also is you have to have the client, right? And I think the thing I see entrepreneurs struggling with the most, and especially young entrepreneurs, right? Because you see everyone on the internet wanting to get entrepreneurship. It's the hot thing. Is not wanting to actually, number one, apprentice themselves in the business that they're looking to sell themselves in. And then number two, actually having a clientele base. So for me, it's like, I was in the space for like a decade. I was selling millions of dollars in clothing. I already had a client book. So when I transitioned to doing my own business, it wasn't like it was necessarily hard. I already had a base clientele.
Right. And what are some of those like the ideal clientele that you like typically work with? Like what do they have to have, or like what's the typical people like clientele?
Like I said, man, C-suite executives, high level entrepreneurs, entertainers, athletes, and just overall like professionals. Those are generally who I tend to work with. Now, of course, there's some exceptions here and there. Like I might have a client who recommends me and maybe wants me to do like a prom tuxedo, or somebody that has a wedding coming up, and I'll do that. But for me, I work with clients that are looking to literally get like a collection. This is a lifestyle that they're looking to, have a wardrobe revamp, right? They're looking to rebrand. They're looking to show up because, maybe they client face a lot, or maybe they're in front of the camera a lot, or maybe they have a brand. So they're looking for someone who can help curate an image that is aligned with their brand.
So like just saying, like you look at Mike, what he does on a day-to-day, where would you start with him? Like look what he has on right now. What would he need?
So here's what I always say with people.
Put me on the spot, bro. I ain't drippy enough.
So here's the thing, man. So I have a course called Perception Economics, where I teach you guys how to leverage image and income, right? And it's in our group in the standard. And it's a 9-module course where I condense a decade of my knowledge into about 9 modules. And one of the things that I always tell guys is say there's 3 archetypes, because the biggest thing is when you're dressing, you have to have affinity to the clothing that you're wearing. So for a guy like Mike, I wouldn't even start with him wearing a suit. I don't think that makes sense. I think that might be a little bit too stiff for what you're trying to do. So what I would recommend is what we call Archetype 1. Archetype 1 is perfect. It's for internet entrepreneurs. It's for tech guys. It's for guys that might have a business, but it's a more casual business. So for instance, let's say like a gym owner, or maybe a truck driver, or a janitorial, like guys like that, to where, their income calls for them to probably be able to dress a little bit better, but the nature of their clientele and just their environment is very casual. So with luxury leisure, or with Archetype 1, what that looks like is more of a luxury leisure wear look. So I would put you in more of like an elevated drawstring jogger with maybe a polo and some sneakers. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Which is it's dressed up, but it's not stiff. It's still very comfortable, and it's not going to be too different from what you're used to wearing in terms of like joggers and athletic attire. It's generally going to have a little bit more stretch in it as well. So again, it allows you to be elevated, but still comfortable, and not feeling like you're too stiff to your audience, and you're not being authentic.
Yeah, I like that. Guys, as you all know, I do wholesaling real estate. So guess what I'm doing? A lot of people been asking me this. A lot of people ask me questions about it. So I'm going to host a free masterclass. My free masterclass is August 13th. That is a Sunday at around 6:30 p.m. You're not doing nothing around that time anyway, so why not take action to change your lives? It's a free online masterclass. I'm going to show you the exact strategy that I use to make 6 figures in less than 3 months. It's possible, guys. Register now. It is free. It's going to be in the description. So let's do it. It's free. I definitely try to be authentic, and I do. But on a day to day, I do real estate. That's what I do. So, and I actually, I watch the videos stuff. So I'm like, so pretty much still casual. It's not like you're not gonna wear a suit to the clothing table. You're pretty much gonna be pretty casual. So that was perfect. I really like that. And so now that we're into it, now that we know that you know what you're talking about, you've been doing it for over a decade at this point. So what is that everyday life for you looking like in the business that you're not? We're gonna get into the standard because that's something whole different. Like, this was first. So what does a day by day look like for you? Is doing this business, working with clients, finding clients, you know?
Man, so it's really cool, right? I'm at the point now in the clothing business where I don't have to find clients, I get referrals.
Okay. I love that.
I'm always getting referrals. Now, the other cool thing about the clothing business is if there's ever one day where I want to get a referral, all I have to do is go somewhere to eat. By myself. Because with what I do, it's attraction marketing. I go somewhere like a Pasha or La Colonial, La Bouquet, like somewhere like that, dressed up, and 9 times out of 10 what's going to happen is somebody's going to say, man, I really love what you're wearing. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I actually help curate collections and capsule collections for high performers. Let me know if you'd be interested. So, like, for me, if I really want to get a client, I just step outside.
That's crazy.
Outside of that, I just manage the clients that I already have. So whenever I'm getting, referrals, it's really just setting up that referral and setting up a time frame with them, or when, customer shipments come in, of course, letting the client know that, hey, your suit's in, let's do a second fitting and make sure everything, fits expectation. But that's really what the day-to-day looks. It's unpackaging client items that are coming in, calling customers to either A, set up an appointment, or B, let them know the item is in so they can do a second fitting. If ever business is really slow for me, again, I just step outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say you get referrals, so that 9 times out of 10 means you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
So did you realize like you were that good when you were like working at the luxury sales job, or like when did you know like, oh, I'm different, like I'm something people need and want? I
think my 3rd year on the job. I think is where I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually really nice at this, right? Granted, I didn't even talk about that. Obviously, Instagram, right, gets clients as well. Like, my Instagram would get a lot of clients. But I remember when I was still working in retail, man, they ended up giving me a sales manager position, right? To where essentially what they would have me do is they would have me travel and help open up new stores and also teach some of the guys their sales. And I remember, man, I would go to places like, Tampa, and guys would come in from my Instagram and be like, man, I saw your Instagram. I want to get a fit from you. And when I started realizing, oh, wow, I'm traveling to different states and dudes want what I have to offer. That, I think, was number 1. And then number 2, when I realized how easy it started becoming for me to curate looks. So, like, I was the guy to where, like, I could put, like, 2-3 looks together in, like, 5 minutes in the store and have a whole storyboard. I
love when I go to the store and they do that for me.
Have a whole storyboard for the client. And when I realized how easy it started becoming for me, to the fact where like I could have 2-3 clients at a time and not lose a beat and give them tasks and be able to curate them full looks. And I started being able to, and that's when I started coming up with this idea of perception economics, because I started being able to listen to guys, be able to ascertain, commonalities, and immediately being able to put them into a bucket of what they really needed and what made the most sense for them based on what they did and listening to their story and the industry that they're in.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So with that being said, obviously you get clients from obviously stepping outside, doing this, stepping outside, referrals. You already had a client base. You're just that good at it, and we know that. So when I'm this good at this, I gotta. So I know you said you was already making the 6 figures at the retail.
Yeah.
Did you surpass that when you went outside of the
business? So I mean, now in my business, man, I make way more now. I can never go back to retail. Like, and this is the thing, man. Like, when you start making more income, you view income in like time, right? Like for instance, right? If I do, let's say, I do a 2-hour appointment, and that 2-hour appointment, it's a $15,000 sale, right?
Right.
And let's say, out of that $15,000 sale, I'm making $10,000.
Yeah.
Sounds
right. So now in my mind, it's like, okay, if I made 10,000 in 2 hours, how in the world could I go back to another job where I might have to do 30 to make the same income?
Wow.
Or half of that.
You know what I mean? So, and granted, and everyone's different, right? Because there's also some people who are like, man, 10,000 2 hours, man, I need 100.
Some people are like that.
You know, so that's and that's the crazy thing about the money game is it's always relative, depending on who you're talking to.
That is
right. It's always relative.
Definitely.
You know, but like that's the cool thing I think about having your own business is it makes you it definitely makes you look at time differently.
Absolutely.
It definitely look at time differently.
Absolutely. Like it's just some things that I just won't do anymore.
Yeah,
It's just like, dude, I could have been. BJ understands.
Yeah.
It's just like, bro. It's just some things that is just like it's not worth my time. Forget. It's not worth my time. You literally say it's not worth my money. It's not worth my time at that point.
Like, if we go back into work like a job under somebody, we'll be bumping heads with the manager all day. Like, no, you're not gonna tell me this. No.
That makes no sense because the time that I'm putting in at this point, and I know people just they probably don't. If you're watching this and if you're not an entrepreneur already, you probably don't get it. You're probably just like, I don't get what they're talking about. But really, you start looking at it like, bro, I literally, because like what I do, like when I was making cold calls, when I do wholesaling, it's like I could cold call for 3 hours or 6 hours a day, but then I could make 100,000.
Yeah.
So now it's
off
like
that one deal.
Off that one deal. So it's like, bro, I'm not finna go back and try to figure out to how I can go make money and then waste a lot of time because most jobs you're really wasting a lot of time anyways.
Yeah.
So
you're not really doing the job to full 7, 8 hours.
You're not doing it. So it's so much more you could be doing. So for with that being said, so say a typical month for you, like average, like what do you think that would be with income? Like I guess you gotta say profit, but income overall, like what?
Okay, so I'll talk like revenue, right?
Revenue. Yeah.
I'll talk.
That's what I meant to say. That's what I meant.
I'll talk
not
revenue.
Profit,
I'll talk revenue. So, on the clothing side, man, it'll be anywhere between 30 to 50,000. And the gap for me comes obviously because that's not my only business.
Yeah.
Right. So
if that was just your only business, you would be.
So for me, it has a lot to do with my ability to focus. And some months, like if I'm traveling more, obviously like the income's gonna go down in the business just because you're not focused on the business. But I mean, it'll be anywhere between 30, 50,000 in revenue per month.
And how did you scale to that point? Like, was it always like I'm making 30 to 50,000, or did you have to like work to that point?
Yeah,
you have to hire people.
No, and that's the thing about my business I love because like we're lean and mean. I don't need to hire anyone.
That's it.
Like at the point that I'm at now, I don't need to hire anyone, right? And especially when we get into even like the things that we're doing in the standard, it's like I'm moving into the space now to where like I'm looking to hire my prices and put even more of a premium on my time because now it's like because I have the standard in that community that I service and I create custom capsule collections for, like when it comes to clothing, if you want something at a certain price point, you can join the community and get that. But we have over 500 guys in that community, but now it's starting to come to the point where like, okay, well, if you want to work with me, this has to be the minimum price point now for it to make sense. Because I also have this other business of guys where like I'm servicing them, and it's a lot of guys in this community to where it's just having to make sense. But the beautiful thing about I think anything service related is if you do a good job and you take care of your clients, your business should naturally grow.
Okay.
Because really it's just a referral model, right? 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and so forth and so on. So for me, it was just servicing the clients I had really well, doing really, really good work. Making sure that the branding is always on point with what I'm doing on social media. So now if, a client does give another person my Instagram, there's a very easy level of communication that says, okay, I want to work with this guy. This is,
I've seen it.
This is what I want. So for me, it was really just that, man, and that really, I think, helped grow and stabilize the business to where I started being able to get like consistent income. And even now, sometimes I don't even have to work with as many clients. Because now the average per sale goes up. Right? So where before, you might have a $1,600 average per sale. Now when it starts becoming $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 average per sale. you know, you start being able to shrink even the amount of clients you have to work with. So yeah, man, it's definitely, it's been a blessing.
I love
It
it.
sounds like everything you do, you're like adding value. Like even with the fashion, it's like you're adding value. You're making somebody feel good in what they wear.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, can you talk a little bit about the standard and
I was
how
just
like
about
you're
to say
adding
that. Let's get into
value,
it.
like in that aspect?
Yeah, man. So
How
I
did you
mean,
even come up with the standard? Like, where did it even start at?
yeah. So well, first of all, I think it's really important to talk about the starter standard. So number one, shout out to my business partner Hafiz, man. He's amazing, and I wouldn't be able to build the standard without him. You know, he's coming from the podcast lane. You know, built to following of over 500,000 subscribers. So he was really doing a lot of amazing things. But the way that it happened is, number one, for me, you know, speaking of business, one thing that started happening in my business is I was having a lot of good momentum. I was having a lot of good sales, but I never felt like I could take a break. And what I meant by that is, every time I took try to take a vacation or try to go out of town, I always felt nervous because I felt like I'd have clients in the funnel.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to get off the hamster wheel because I felt like if I got off the hamster wheel, then it would take more effort to like get it started
That's me
versus
right
just
now.
staying in motion.
You gotta get
Like
that
it's
right
easy.
now.
It's easier for me to just keep working
Yep, that's me right now.
than to stop. And what I realized at that point is, man, I didn't have it, and it took me being humble, is I didn't have a business at a high income skill set. Right, because if your business doesn't operate without you, it's not a business. So what I started thinking about, I was like, man, I really need a digital product. I need something that can sell when I'm not, you know, with the client, or when I don't want to sell.
Right.
So I started thinking, I was like, man, I really need to create some type of just online digital product. And I already had a lot of guys I was going to school with that kind of looked at my brand as an aspirational purchase and always hit me like, yo, Joe, like when I get the money, bro, I'm going to shop with you. So there was this idea of like, man, what if there's maybe a lower ticket item that I can offer online for clients who, you know, may want to work with me custom, but maybe they don't have the income yet. Around that same time, you know, I was talking with my brother Hafiz, and, you know, obviously he's coming from the podcasting lane and really helping men, right? And we were just talking, and we decided, like, man, maybe we should partner, because obviously, you know, you have this community of guys, right, that want to level up, that want to do more, be more, have more. You know, I'm coming from the clothing end, and I have the ability to help, you know, propel that image, to help curate that for them. You know, let's maybe try to partner with each other, you know, and do this thing. And that's, you know, originally kind of how the stand was birthed, especially even for me, because, you know, I'm talking to all of these high performers, and the one thing I noticed that was a consistent theme with all of these high performers I was talking to, these clients where we're kind of almost having these therapy sessions, right, is that, man, all of them were making all this money, right, all this income, but they would get to the top of the mountain, they felt like they were the only one there.
Yeah.
Right? Essentially, they had a backpack on them the whole time, right? Whether it's family members asking them for money, whether it's friends that they're trying to put on but just aren't hungry enough, aren't ambitious enough, right?
Yeah.
They felt like they were the only one. And what I tell people, man, it's like, you know, climbing a mountain and then trying to go back up and bring other people up who aren't climbers.
Yeah.
And the thing about trying to bring other people up who aren't climbers is eventually they're gonna pull you down with them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right, and it's kind of hard to recover falling off from a mountain. That's not
For sure.
something you want to try,
You don't want to do that one.
right?
You know what's crazy about that? Me and Mike, we always talk to each other. We're like, dang, this person just asked me for this amount of money. Like, oh my God, I just sent this to just help them out. And like, it's like, we're like really, we were like the only, like before we start going out and networking and stuff,
With you
we
guys,
were the only people that we like talk to like each other and stuff about, like that type of stuff about. It's like, I just paid this person's rent. I just helped them out with that. I just did this, but it was just me and Mike. It was like nobody else I can relate to my age, like about that situation. So like networking and community, that's like essential for you to just like feel like you're not the only one.
Yeah, well, look, what I tell people, man, the standard essentially is a place where your weird is normal and your normal isn't weird. So if you're the guy where people are like, man, why you always like to work so much? Why are you always trying to talk business, right? And that's weird. It's not weird to the standard. If you're the type of guy where people are like, man, why are you working out so hard? Why are you always getting up so early? You know, that's weird.
I hear that all the time.
Right? In the standard, that's not weird. It's normal. If you're the guy where it's like, man, why are you constantly trying to level up? Why are you trying to get better spiritually? Why are you reading so many books? Why are you trying to increase your knowledge? That's weird.
Yeah.
Or it's not weird in the standard. It's normal. So again, it's for those guys. And On the other end is for the guys where a lot of times what I've realized with men is most men feel like they have to segment their relationships. So what I mean by that is for a lot of guys, they might have a friend where it's like, hey, this is my friend where I go out to the club with. This is my friend that I just work out with. This is my friend that I can talk business with. But a lot of times they aren't able to integrate those friends. And the standard is for the guy who's looking for an integrated circle, where these guys are well-rounded enough to where like you can talk business with them, you can go out and have fun with them, you can work out because hey, they're on their fitness too, right? Because these guys are guys who want to develop in all pillars as a man, right? They don't want to be Johnny Bravo, they just don't want to hit chest all day and then do no legs and be unbalanced.
Right, for sure.
They're for guys who are really trying to grow in all areas.
And do you feel like having balance, like in the entrepreneurial world and just being like a man, is that like essential in like your development and growth? Like just having a balance with like everything, like business, financials.
Is there such thing as balance?
Goals?
So here's what I think. You have to have a balance, but obviously there's going to be periods of unbalance, right? But you have to be aware enough to course correct. So there are going to be certain modes and moments in your life where you're going to have to go all in on one area. But you have to be aware enough to where, hey, all right, I'm becoming Hellboy now. I done worked out my right arm a little too much, right? It's time to put the weight down there. Like, we got it, big bro. So, and that's the thing where I think guys don't get is they don't have the awareness to where, yeah, okay, cool, we get it. You've maxed out the income, but bro, like you might need to work, on your fitness now, man. Like we got it. You're making money, but you're a little sloppy. Body right now. Right. Like it's time to put that down. You won this game. Let's work on this now. So that's what I think it is. It's just obviously there's going to be periods of time where it might be unbalanced, but you have to also still be aware enough to course correct when necessary.
Man, guys, listen. I'm so happy that you are tuning into the podcast. As you all know, I'm Mr. Mindset, and you know that I do wholesaling real estate. I've been doing it at a high level for a while now. So what I'm doing is I'm giving out strategies on how you can do the same. Guys, I have an ebook out. I have an ebook called 4 Steps to Make 6 Figures in 6 Months with little to no money in wholesaling real estate. Guys, get the book. The link will be in the description. Go get that. And guess what? It also comes with another book, The Perfect Mindset, 7 Thought Patterns that can take you from stress to success. Guys, both of these books will change your lives. I promise. Because if you have the right mindset and you're able to apply that mindset to something, and this something will be wholesaling real estate, you will change you and your family lives. Go get it. It's only $20. Let's do it. Have you ever heard of something like the 4 burner theory?
No, what's that?
So basically, it's pretty much what you're saying. You got to be able to know how to be balanced. And I've learned this. I used to do network marketing. I used to go door to door and stuff.
Yep.
And I used to have something called a 4 burner theory. Sometimes, like you said, you can't have all. It's like a stove top.
Yeah.
You can't have all 4 turned up at the same time because now you just have a lot of energy burning, and it's not going to work out. One of the eyes are going to go out. Yeah. So what you got to do, sometimes you may have a period where you got the work life, you got the fitness life, you got the family life, you got the social life, but eventually hey, this period of time my family life might be turned all the way up when I'm getting older. Right? When I'm younger, I'm like, hey, my work life might be turned all the way up. Then when I may be too young, maybe younger, sometimes I may have to turn that work life on medium. I may have to turn that fun life on medium just to make sure and then turn the other ones off completely. Right? And it's just being able to have those four burners and understand that you can't have all those turned up at the same time, but you got to know which burners can be on at the same time and when you have to turn them off.
No, exactly. Yeah, I agree, man.
So yeah, that's pretty much what.
And let me ask you this, like, because I know you're big on like appearance, presence and stuff. So like, how important is that, like, you walking into a room and you standing out, like, from like a perception wise, like you could be like one of the best dressed in the room or the best dressed in the room. What does that say, like, walking into that room, like, I came here ready today and I'm probably the best dressed in the room. So like, does that mean something or is that important?
Because like me and BJ, we just be like, bro, we good, bro. Let's just thug it. We good today.
We say that most
of the time.
No, we don't say that most of the time. Because
no, when
we started real estate, we used to see a lot of guys. They used to like go on like appointments. They used to be like other like wholesalers and stuff. They used to go on appointments and like just everyday clothes. Like they're going on an appointment like this.
Yeah.
But we were different. We bought collared shirts. We put on dress shoes. We put on like,
and we still do it to this day.
Like, yeah, we still do it today. We go on our appointments in like collared shirts. just because we don't want to we want to be different to a certain extent. We want people to take us serious. So like, I just want you to like just elaborate on that, just because you're in that world, like the importance of like your presence in that room.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of layers to this.
Let's unpack it.
Yeah. So number one, I'm not in the business of telling people what they need to wear or even what they shouldn't wear. However, what I am in the business of telling people, especially men, is to be intentional about what they're communicating.
Okay.
Right? Clothing, especially even what a person sees, right? 60% it's like 60-70% of a person's first impression is based on what they physically see. Right? The brain processes the images 60,000 times faster than it does words. So regardless of how you feel about it, right? But regardless of what you may think about it, right, wrong, morality wise, whatever, the facts remain. What people see plays a large part into what they see. Right? What they think, what they perceive, right? Their interactions with you. So what I always just like to tell people is, man, when people look at you, what do you want them to see? What do you want to communicate to them? Right? Everyone, right? You've been online. Have you ever went through one of those e-verifies, right? Where it's like, click 3 crosswalks to prove you're a human.
You're a human.
Right? And everyone hates it because you're always like, dang, I want to click that crosswalk in the corner, man. It's like, is this part of it or not?
Is it a trick question?
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is, man, this is so real because in real life, people go through their e-verify methods, right? Right? They do. Because the first thing a person's going to do when they see you, right? Let's say you're a businessman. The first thing they're going to do when they're taking you through their own e-verify method is they're going to pull all the previous information of businessmen that they've seen, perceived, or thought of in the past. Second thing they're going to do is they're going to assign it to what's in front of them. So this is you. They're assigning what they've perceived as businessmen in the past. And the third thing that they're going to do is they're going to confirm. And the question is, when they confirm, are you going to have to reapply, do it again, or is that going to pass through?
Right.
And that's what I always say to guys is, man, just be intentional to understand however you choose to dress, right? Because you can dress however you want to dress. Is that being intentional, and is it communicating what you want to communicate to the audience that you're looking to either, sell to, the audience that you're looking to interact with, or the audience that you're looking to capture?
Man, that's a great perspective. That's great. Like, cause it's like you just think like, bro, I love that. I love the way you come at it. It's like, bro, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you what to wear. It's all up to you. And they pretty much, that's why you say you tell stories and you help them communicate. Cause they're like, if you want to present that you are a well-rounded entrepreneur or exec, I'm gonna show you how you need, how you should dress to do that, to give that message out.
And to a certain extent, it's like the better you dress kind of correlates with the more success a person has. Because typically, I know you can have money, you could this money's nothing, I'm gonna dress down and stuff. But typically, when you're in a room with other people, it's like the most people that are more confident or have the most success or more knowledge to tell people, they're typically dressed better than their other counterparts and stuff that they're sharing knowledge.
Yeah, man. I mean, the biggest thing is I'm always saying just try to be as congruent as possible, right? So I think a lot of guys, they struggle with the congruency of it all. So there are some guys who make a lot of money, disrespectful amounts of money, and right, yeah, and I worked with in the past, and they're like, man, look, they have this disconnect when I tell people between performance and perception, and they say, because I'm performing so much, I don't care about how I dress. You gonna have to take it regardless. Right, because I'm nice.
Yeah, most people not to that.
Right, and that's cool. To them, I say hats off. However, what I always tell them is, look, I understand you're dropping 30 a night, but is there a possibility, right, that instead of having to drop 30 a night on 25 shots, that you could do it on 15? Yeah. And that's all perception and dressing is.
He's good.
It doesn't mean that you can't get to that outcome, but is there a chance that you could do it more efficiently? Right? Because there's a level of when you're talking nice and you're dressed nice, there's a level of congruency that happens to where people listen to you a lot easier than you having to do extra work. Yeah. Because how you look is not combining with what you're saying, right? There's a reason why Beyonce is a star, right? And has a little bit more notoriety versus Jill Scott. Jill Scott's an amazing singer.
Great singer.
Fire. You can't tell me that she can't go with Beyonce.
Oh, absolutely.
From a singing standpoint, you cannot tell me she cannot go.
Yeah, right.
But when we're looking at some other intangibles, when it comes to the idea of performance as well as perception, obviously there's some things that are differentiating factors, right? The same thing even when you look at a rap side, right? Like what I always tell people is, man, I'd rather be the guy who can go pop than just hip hop. Yeah. And here's what I mean by that. It's not saying that I don't like hip hop. I love rap, right? But it's a reason why it's a lot easier for a Drake to sell out multiple stadiums than a Little Baby. It's not always skill set, right? But it's this level of, hey, performance, perception, and also the audience size that now you're able to reach because of that.
Yes.
Right. So again, it's not, and I always tell people it's not a right or wrong. I'm not telling you what you should do.
Yeah.
But what I am telling you to consider is there a way to do what you're doing more efficiently, and B, is there a way to capture even more people in the long run if you perhaps did things a little bit more differently? Now, if you're fine with both of those questions, continue to do what you're doing. I'm not going to tell you to change what you're doing. However, if you are looking for adjustments, then I think there's conversation there. And that's kind of always my point.
Yeah.
Man. So that was just some heat. And it's just like, you know, I'm like speechless right now. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, this is crazy because it's like, you know, people don't think about it that deep, right? They just think it's clothes. It's clothing or it's the community or whatever it is. This is just my homeboys. I'm still gonna be able to perform, even just like with the standards. Like, you can hang out with anybody out there and probably still be successful, but you're gonna eventually hit some type, they're gonna probably start pulling you down. So just like the standard, not only with clothing, it's just like being a part of the standard is like, okay, great. Yeah, you keep hanging out with the same people that you've been hanging out with, or you can keep not being with anybody and keep doing this alone. But how far are you going to go?
Well, and what I tell people, man, and here's why I really started even coming up with this idea of perception economics and the power of it. It goes back to college. I remember I was 19, maybe 20 years old. And I remember I got my first speaking engagement. And I'll never forget, you know, it was Armstrong University. They reached out to me and they said, hey, you know, we're having a gala and we'd love for you to be our keynote speaker for 45 minutes. Now, at the time, I was freaking amazed because when you went to my Instagram at that moment, I had no speaking content on my Instagram.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, wow, the heck
That's crazy.
are they asking me to do a keynote? And I ain't got no speaking content. So, you know, my next question, right, is, so what does the budget look like?
Let's get that.
What does the budget look like? And this man came back to me and said, hey, look, we're willing to pay you an honorarium, right? Because that's what they call it, an honorarium. An honorarium of $1,000 for 45 minutes.
You say, oh, let's go.
Now, I don't know about you guys, right? But at the time, being 19, 20 years old and somebody being willing to pay me, you know, $1,000 for 45 minutes, that was, you know, mind-blowing. Especially considering that I had no speaking content on my Instagram. And when I asked him, what made you want me to come speak? It was like, man, the way that you dressed, the way that you presented yourself, we want you to speak on image to the young guys and our college guys, right? At the school. You know, we really like the way that you present yourself, and, you know, we love for you to just share a little bit on what makes you, you know, you. Yeah.
Man.
Right? Now, I could have been trash at speaking. Right? And I just ran off on a plug with all the money. Now, obviously, yeah, you know, I was able to knock it out the park, but from that moment on, I realized the power of being able to leverage image into income. And even more so, right? Like when I've even gotten certain clients, you know, and being able to work with people like a Will Pack or, you know, when I was able to do some content with Katino Mobley and all these things, like this came from my Instagram, man. You know,
It's important. How they
So
look at you.
yeah, just how you're perceived, man.
It's important.
That brand.
Definitely. It's definitely all about your brand. It's crazy how important branding was, especially when, how old are you now? 29?
Yeah, 29.
29.
Yeah,
You're still young.
yeah,
You're still young. But
yeah, yeah.
even back in when you were 20 years old, it's still like people didn't think about social
Bro.
media that way then. How people wasn't thinking about making money off of social media that much back then.
Nah.
Yeah.
And he say, I've been doing this.
And let me
Yeah,
ask you
yeah,
this:
man.
what age do you get to where? Because it's a big in like our age in times nowadays. What would you say, like your personal opinion, like where you stop wearing like the graphic tees and like the stuff like that, and start putting on more like mature clothes for like of course more like mature women and stuff? Like, what's that age where you're like, okay, I need to put that up in the closet and like?
I mean, so all right. So number one, I'm always very big on clients not aging themselves out. So I do think you need to wear age specific attire, right? So you know, if you're 14, I'm not campaigning for you to go to school in a full 3-piece. That's a little ridiculous,
It is.
right? Like it needs to be age appropriate. However, again, what I am saying is there still are efficient ways to be sharp and nice. Now, I know for me, in terms of, my transition, I kind of started leaving that stuff alone at like 18, 19. Right? That's really when I started transitioning my whole wardrobe in terms of, dressing up more, literally. And that was the moment, too, where, like, I started experimenting. Right? Because, like, I was the guy who I went to class with a suit before, but then I was like, okay, this feels too stiff. So, okay, how can I still be dressed up in class but not come across as pretentious? Okay, cool. Well, how can I like dress up at the house party but not seem like I'm hot or I'm doing too much, but still be the best dressed guy in there? Right. So like I started real time experimenting with different styles and understanding how to dress in different environments that made the most sense, and that's how I created the 3 archetypes. Right, to be able to seamlessly interact in all these different environments and spaces to where it still makes sense, but it's not it's not too much. Right, like even for instance, like today, like I didn't wear a suit. That was like intentional. I wasn't gonna wear a suit, right? But I'm still at a point to where like I'm dressed up enough to where I'm still representing my brand.
Very well.
You know what I mean? So it's just like it's just understanding those things and how to maneuver in those spaces.
And what are the 3 archetypes, if you can like break that down?
Yeah. So again, archetype 1, that's going to be the most casual. Again, those are for the internet entrepreneurs. Those are for the guys who are in more casual spaces, like the tech guys, etc. Then you have archetype 2. Those are for, let's say, like the real estate agents, maybe the sales reps, the guys that are in slightly more professional environments, right? So they need to be dressed up, but they still don't want to be too dressed up because their client doesn't want to be with somebody that's too pretentious, especially if they're client facing. Right. And then archetype 3 is like your most professional environments, like your investment bankers, your finance, professionals. They're the people that are in the most corporate environments and need to be, dressed to a certain level because of the space that they operate in.
That's the code.
Yeah, and that's typically what the 3 archetypes are. And there's different levels of dress for each one, which I outline in my course in the standard. And I even have a lookbook like detailing like, hey, this is what archetype 1 should look like. This is what archetype 2 should look like. This is what archetype 3 should look like. So it's very, very clear on how to be able to maintain all of these different, archetypes.
Man, that is crazy because I definitely need to get into that lookbook.
Yeah,
I need to get into that. I gotta go find a lookbook. But so you're always stepping out, and you're always stepping out.
Yeah.
Graciously.
Yeah.
If I want to say it myself, right? Graciously. I'm trying to find the right word. Graciously, right? So I got a question. So like usually, outside of work, which I don't even know how much you work really. I'm very confused. but do you go out? Like, do you even go out? Do you go out to clubs? Do you do any of those things on the outside, or you just pretty much like I'm business and I just need to handle my business, or how does that work?
So there's only 2 times I go out. Only 2 times.
When is that?
The first time is with the standard.
Of course.
Right. So, we do experiences all across the world. We do socials that we host as well.
Yep.
So generally I will go out with them. So, in a way that's still business.
Right.
Right. The second time I will go out is generally if it's with friends.
Right.
Right. And generally, that's more celebrations, right? Maybe, a friend might have bought an apartment building, or maybe it's a friend's birthday, or maybe they just hit, a win in the business. Those are times where I generally, like, you'll see me in the club. Other than that, it's a very rare sighting to see me in the club.
Right.
I rarely will ever be in the club. I might go to a lounge. I'm a really big proponent of vibes and luxury spaces. So I love rooftop bars.
Okay.
Right. So like you might catch me at like a whiskey blue, right, or a rooftop LOA, right. Like you might catch me there, or the Thompson, right, or St. Julep.
Right.
You might
Right.
you might catch me at those, but like it's very rare that you're gonna catch me at like Revel.
I feel you.
You know,
I went to Revel for my birthday last year. Actually.
and there's not wrong. Like I've gone to Revel with the homies, but like that's not an every Friday Saturday event. Like
Right.
you know, that's like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Or maybe RIP. You know, you're not gonna see me at Gold Room. Like
Right.
it's very rare you will see me in those spaces. Like and it's funny because whenever people do see me out, they're like, "What? Like you're out? Like you're outside?"
Yeah, fact.
I'm like, yeah, you know, I decided to step out for a second. You know,
Is that intentional, or like for your brand, or is just kind of like that's just not something I want to do?
I mean, I guess maybe a part of it's intentional, but for me, I like operating in elevated spaces. No disrespect to those spaces, but
Disrespect to 'em.
you
I'm
know,
just playing.
yeah. But like for me, I like it's not necessarily as fun to go into a space where everyone's gonna have a Relo out, and then I get cotton mouth, and then I end up leaving the club smelling like for real,
Not like getting cotton.
or like a pack of Black and Milds,
Yeah,
like.
gotta throw that shirt over there.
No, like respectfully, like we've all been to Atlanta clubs. Everyone sits down, everyone smokes. They pull out the Relos. Now I'm getting cotton mouth. I'm having to ask the waiter for like 3-4 things of Cokes with light ice, just so my throat's not killed. Yeah, like, and then when I step out, like my clothes is smell like. That's not necessarily for at this point in my life. I'm not saying that's not a dope experience for other people,
For sure.
Yeah.
That's you.
but for me, that's not a dope experience for me.
For sure.
For me, I'm trying to be, 40 floors up, looking over the city, vibes, right? Music in the background, a little light breeze, in Atlanta coming through. Like those for me are vibes, being around other high performers. We're talking, whether it's business or what we're trying to do. Like for me at this point in my life, like that's super, super dope. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I love turn up. I love having fun. I have that in me. But like consistently, like, nah, it's not necessarily where I'm at right now.
Gotcha. So I mean, I just got a question. So when you do things like that, like what type of, do you attract the right type of attention when you're doing those things? Like, or like, what is it? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, man. Like here's the thing, and I always try to tell guys this, and whenever I talk to guys about this, it seems so like esoteric and so unreal, right? Because when I tell guys like, hey man, look, if you want to experience what it's like to attract women to you, to have women coming up to you, let's say, giving you a compliment or trying to get your number, right? Not saying that you still can't go out and get what you want as a man, but but if you do want to experience what that's like, dress up.
I believe it.
Right? Like I promise you, like if you start dressing better, if you start taking your grooming seriously, if you start taking, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you smell, like all of these things seriously, man, like real time. And it's funny because like a lot of guys in the standard, like they've seen it real time. Where like, a girl will come up and I'm just like, it's not what I'm on right now. But like they see it like that happens a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes I wish I could have like a camera with me. So I really, cause when people hear it, they think I'm lying. And I'm like, this really like happens. Like really walking down the street, girl, hey, you like it really happens. So, I mean, yeah, but also too, what I'll say is it also serves as a filtering system for the wrong girl and for the wrong types of people.
Yeah.
Right, because you also have a level of like if a person feels intimidated or if they feel like they can't get over on you or if they now won't approach you.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, that's too much. All right, I can't handle that. Or I can't walk over that person.
Yeah.
So it also serves as a filtering, a process for the wrong types of people as well.
Right.
And from the female perspective, it's like you can't really blame them for being attracted to that because like as I got older and learned, I'm like females are attracted to success. So it's like you can't really fault them that they want to be with a successful man that knows what he's doing. And like we said, like kind of your appearance it correlates with the way like your level of success.
Bro, so this is really big, and here's what I'm going to tell people. And this also goes into a deeper conversation of luxury versus designer. The reason I like menswear in particular is because menswear tends to be more on the luxury side of things, and it's more if you know, you know.
Yeah.
It's not heavy brand labels. It's not a lot of flash. It's more about the execution of the piece and the finish of the piece. And what I will say happens when it does come to dressing up, especially if you're doing menswear, is you'll attract less mercenaries and more soldiers.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is mercenaries, right? They go for the highest bidder. And when you're a guy that, let's say, dressing in more what I call designer level pieces, let's say the Cuban link, the Gucci print, like the bust down AP, all of those things, those are more things to where it's going to attract mercenaries. People that when they see that immediate signs of wealth, like that smacking in the face, they're like, okay, he got money, I want to talk to him. Versus the menswear guy, it's more based on, wow, I really like the way he put that together. It really looks nice. That looks sophisticated.
Yeah.
So again, with designer level pieces, it's generally less about the execution of how it actually looks and more about the show of what he actually has on and the upfront ticket price of people knowing, oh yeah, you got money because he got the bit with the new Dior with the new da 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 da.
Y'all can't dress. That's what he said.
So, it's not saying necessarily that they can't dress, but it does attract a completely different type of person. Like I remember I was talking with my homies. He's like, bro, why am I attracting all these girls? They asking me, to pay their rent first. I was like, bro, pull out your Instagram. He was like, okay. He was like, cool. I was like, bro, the first picture you had was an iced out AP. Second one was a stack of 100,000. The third, bro, what do you mean?
What do you
mean, bro?
You the stack on the dresser.
Yes, bro. So what I'm saying is, guys, just be cognizant, because if you lead with that, you're gonna get the mercenary pack.
Yeah, and you can't blame them. It's like you're showing me money on Instagram, so it's like, why wouldn't I come and be like, oh, he has money, let's go to this place?
Exactly, because the person that's a little bit more based on that substance, right, isn't going to be necessarily attracted to that as much. Not saying that, of course, I think one of the emotional needs of a woman obviously is going to be financial security.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right, but how that plays out looks very different for different women, and how that looks very different.
What you mean?
At different ages. No, I know what I mean, because it's like you got to think about it, because you got to think about it in high school, like let's say high school to college. It's like typically the guys that get the most money, not the guys that get the most money, the woman, like that, the guy, like the type of guys the women attract are the guys getting money. And typically that could be like, oh, a scammer or somebody that's just like flashy and like the better clothes, because they're like attracted to the guy that's making the most money. So it's like, I don't know why it's always like it's like I said, it goes to like a success thing. It's like they're always attracted to like whoever looks like they're making the most money.
Here's what I've noticed, and this isn't to be offensive, it's just a personal observation. Obviously this could be wrong, there's variance, different people have different experiences, but what I've realized is when you lead with lots of money and lots of flash, it generally tends to attract the woman that is the most susceptible to money. And how you get them can be how you lose them. And the reason I say you don't want to attract mercenaries is because there's always going to be somebody who can outbid you.
Yeah.
Right. And women who tend to have a proclivity to being easily attracted to a guy that front faces with money tend to be women that come from the most financially destitute environments.
Because it's like they longing for that.
So women that have grown up very, financially poor, right, have been in very bad financial environments at the home, tend to be the women that are the most like susceptible if a guy shows money, like, oh, okay, because that's such a high need, versus women that aren't tend to come from environments where maybe, both parents in the household or they were in a more financially stable position. So although, yes, they appreciate financial security because they come from that, they also now are able to look at higher needs, such as like emotional, right? It's like Maslow's hierarchy, right? Maslow's hierarchy states that you can't worry about your higher needs until your lower needs are fulfilled.
Right.
So if you have a woman whose lower needs is this basic necessities, financials, if she's never had that fulfilled, she's not even able to get to the higher point of like, okay, well, how does this guy treat me? How do I feel emotionally with him? These are not even higher needs that they think of. So that's why I say that it's more of a mercenary mentality versus a soldier mentality, you know, loyal to the soil. You know, they want to fight for one nation. They don't worry about, you know, how much you paying on the other side. Like I'm rocking with the U.S.
Right, that's it.
Right, like that's it. So that's just been kind of an observation for me, and that's why I say, like, you know, financial security looks different in different women, and it's attracted differently in different women.
Like he said, how you get them might be how you lose them.
Yeah,
For sure, and that makes perfect sense. Man, I got a question. Right? So obviously, I've been out with you before. I went to your birthday party and everything, and I overheard. I was like, they was like, you want to drink? He was like, I ain't never drank before. And I'm like, I'm in this bit with a cup in my hand, like, should I put it down? Like, should I put it out?
Like, where's my cup? Why haven't they brought it out yet?
So why it's an open bar and everything? I'm like, so why don't you drink? I wanted to ask you this question. I'm so bad. I'm like, why? So what is that? What made you not drink?
Yeah, man. So, you know, I tell people, you know, I come from a family that struggled with alcohol. Man, I have a lot of alcoholics in my family. Family struggle with alcoholism, and for me, I never trusted my ability to moderate it. And I felt like in order for me to break that generational curse for when I have kids, I have to not do it. So now, even if my kids do decide to drink, there's a level of, you know, example in the household to where they're not going to overindulge, right? Because if they've seen their father not drink at all, even if they do drink, it's a level to where, like, they aren't gonna overdo it.
Right.
And I just felt like for me, I had to make that responsible decision to not drink at all. Now, I don't mind people to drink. I actually have a bar in my spot, right? Like you know, I got the Grand Marnier, I got all of it, right? Got the wine, got everything. But me personally, I just don't drink. I don't partake.
You know, I respect that, man.
Yeah.
I respect it. You wanna know why?
Yeah.
Because that's the reason that I don't smoke. Mm-hmm. Like, people like, bro, why you don't smoke?
Yeah.
Everybody does it. Because I've seen literally my whole family, like, overindulge into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and it's just
yeah.
like, that's not something I want to do, because I'm like, I just feel like it's distracting. It's a waste of money. It's just so many things, and that's why I don't do it. I don't want to. Now, have I went to LA or something and like got an edible? Hell yeah. Now I'm high as a bitch, you know. But it's not like something I'm out of town with my rounds. You know what I'm saying? You know. But at the same time, though, I just understand that I'm not gonna be home. You're not gonna catch me here smoking. You're not gonna catch me here on the edible. You're not gonna catch any of that, because that's
real,
just
man.
not. I've seen it and I grew up on it. And I want to break that. I don't want, because I feel like it just is weed. I know people like, alcohol is worse than weed. I'm like, bro, I ain't gonna lie, all of it does something to you. Y'all just don't. You know, people like, you ever heard somebody say, I'm not addicted to weed? You can't get addicted to weed. Shut up.
Yeah.
Why you keep? You literally are going broke right now. You got $10 in your pocket and you trying to find a way to buy weed.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
So that's huge.
Draw
man.
center.
Everything. It's everything. So, man, it seemed like we done been here for a while, huh? How long been, Tate? For sure. It's like we've been here for a while, man. But we definitely gave out a lot of game, right? You done gave out so much. But we dropped these episodes at the beginning of the week, right?
Okay.
So we always like to leave them with something they can actually go implement this week to just start having some success in some type of way, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritual, whatever that is. So leave them we call it give them some. Give them some game that they can go and implement right now that'll actually make their lives better this week.
Whew, man. Okay, so I think I'll give them 3 things.
Okay.
First thing is model, right? I think the easiest way to find success is figure out people that you want to model. And one of I think the things that's really helped me out is I've always been able to model myself after the people that I look up to. So number one, if you're on the couch, you're not seeing much success, you're not seeing much momentum, you're kind of feeling stuck. The first thing I need you to do is I need you to find 3 to 5 people that you look up to in the industry that you want to have success in.
Oh my gosh.
You need to find 3.
Okay.
You need to find 3 to 5 people, right? After you find those 3 to 5 people, you need to do 3 different things. Number 1, you need to follow them on Instagram. Number 2, you need to consume every audio podcast, whatever, by them. And number 3, if they have a book, you need to read that book. Right? That's the first thing, because what's going to happen is as you begin to model yourself, right? That's the beautiful thing about the internet. Even if they can't be a in-person mentor, they can be a digital mentor. You're going to begin to adapt the conversations. You're going to begin to adapt the thinking. You're going to begin to adapt the inspirations that those people have, because you're modeling yourself after them. Because right now, the reason why you're probably not having the success you want is because you're not modeling yourself after the right type of people, right? So sometimes you have to change the model, right? If, you know, that's the reason why they make new cars every year. Right, they update the cars because that old model's not working. Right, they have some tweaks that they need to make. Maybe it's a new engine that needs to be put in there, a new GPS system. You need to update the model. The second thing that I would say is, if you're not finding success, you need to find some type of in-person community. You need to find a community, right? One of my favorite things, right? I was never a science guy, but one of the most fascinating things I learned in science is about chemistry, right? And the cool thing about chemistry is every atom in nature is modified by its nearest associates, right? So hydrogen plus oxygen equals what? It equals water. So the thing that I want to ask you is, what are your nearest associates making you? Again, if you're not having the right type of reaction in your life, it's because you're not around the right type of people. So what you need to do is you need to figure out, right, where are the people there you can have the right type of reaction. So I don't know what industry, and maybe you're trying to do real estate, maybe you're trying to do finance, maybe you're trying to do credit, but you need to research where these people are at, right, where they're meeting at, and you need to do everything in your power to get in the room, right? Hey, and even if you're interested in the standard, maybe you can apply to get in the standard. But even if it's not the standard, you need to find the community that is going to allow you to get into the room. Third thing you need to do, right? This is really, really important. This is really important because this is where the attraction marketing comes in. I don't care if you don't have Instagram, right? You need to start one. You need to start some type of social media, and you need to start branding yourself. Well, you might even be saying, well, Joe, like I'm not seeing any success right now. I don't know what I want to do. That's the perfect point and reason you need to document, because that's where your brand's going to start. Hey guys, look, you know, I'm not having the success I want, but I wanted to bring you guys along this journey with me to document the process. I know a lot of you guys might be feeling like me. Maybe you're not having the success you want. Maybe you're not in the spaces you want to be, but you guys can come along this journey with me, and maybe we can develop a community of guys just trying to make it, even though we're not where we want to be. So those would be the three things that I would implement where you can start having success right now, that you can start at home right now, right? Even if you don't have any money, right? As long as you have a cell phone, you can find out these things. And those would be the three things I would implement.
Oh my gosh, turn the episode off, but wait, turn the episode off, go do what he said do right now. Like right now, right now. Turn it off, turn it off right now. But before you turn it off, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, guys, so we can make sure that we get these messages out to other individuals. I'm right here. I'm right here, guys. Listen, look, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you guys are actually taking the things that he's saying and actually implement them, because we're putting these guys in your face. He could be a digital mentor for you. I hope you guys are understanding this. Now, follow us on Instagram at _on_the_porch. Follow us on Instagram. We're dropping heat every day, dropping clips just in case you couldn't catch the whole episode. Just go listen to the clips. We're going to put some highlights on there. And guys, follow me on Instagram at _Mr.Mindset. That's last, but I mean, not least, I guess. But follow me on Instagram, BJ.
Hey guys, we brought y'all another great guest. Jay's been dropping a lot of game, a lot of knowledge, something that y'all could like take action in your life today and make your life better and continue to grow. But y'all go ahead and follow me at _BJ Real. Y'all can go follow the podcast at _on_the_porch. Like I say all the time, we're not hard to find, guys. And we're growing, guys. We see the love, support.
I would appreciate y'all.
Subscribers are going crazy right now, guys. If you haven't already, leave a like, leave a comment. I think we respond to like mostly all
everybody. We're responding to everybody.
We're responding to everybody, guys. Like we said, if y'all show us love, we're gonna show you love back. But make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we're gonna keep pushing out the best game that we could give y'all on a daily basis, like we said.
And guess what? We're out.
And we're gone. Peace.
Man, that was a hell of oh my goodness, came in this thing.
JT on the track again.
Hey, run that shit up, Chase.